Welcome to the Smoke Learning channel. In this video, I am going to get you started using the ConnectFX Paint tool located in the Smoke's ConnectFX node-based environment. If you're interested in learning about desktop paint, then please choose the YouTube link or iTunes download. The main workflow regarding the ConnectFX Paint is that it is part of an effects or compositing task in the node-based compositor. The paint node sits in the ConnectFX node bin, and if you hover over the node bin and press P, the node will be highlighted. Now there are a variety of ways to use paint, so let's start with the simplest. Drag the paint node out of the ConnectFX node bin and drop it into the ConnectFX schematic. Without connecting anything to the node, you can double-click on the paint node and start painting on the black frame straight away. This is useful for being able to create a quick graphic element without having to leave ConnectFX. The black frame size is controlled by the resolution of ConnectFX. So if you're working in an HD sequence with an HD ConnectFX, the paint node will have a 1920 by 1080 pixel resolution by default. However, when you feed a main source into the paint node will adjust to the resolution of that main source, which will effectively be painted on. So if you need a 500 by 500 pixel image, just feed that into the paint node and its resolution will match its main front input. So you can connect various sources for tasks such as wire removal, image cleanup, matte clean, and matte painting. We'll be looking at some of these examples in upcoming videos. For the first example, I am going to connect a frame as my front input. Double-click on the paint node to bring up the controls. You can also press F4 over the result viewer to cycle between the result and alpha result coming out of the paint node. The paint interface has a variety of controls to do certain things, but I'm going to get you into the habit of doing something first before even looking elsewhere. The first thing you should do when entering paint is decide whether you are going to paint on only the current frame, from a particular frame onwards, or every frame in the sequence. The Paint On pull-down menu will affect any future painting strokes. Many new users to ConnectFX Paint have tripped over this workflow, so please think about it before you start. The paint interface is divided up into two sections. On the left, you have the sources list. This list shows what sources are loaded into Paint for such tasks as cloning and revealing. At the top of the list, you will always see your main layer front input and any matte inputs that may be connected into the paint node. On the right of the interface, you have your painting tools to perform all the creative tasks. As you paint on the image, your strokes are cached into the paint node. This means that the strokes could be erased or deleted without affecting the original image. This also means if you hold Ctrl-Option and pull the paint node out of the node branch, the paint strokes will vanish from the composite because they are stored in the node. If you drop the node back into the ConnectFX node branch, the strokes will be reapplied at that point in the node branch. To further illustrate the paint node's flexibility, if I placed a node before the paint input, let's say I press B for blur and drag out a blur node, when I increase the blur on the image and then return back to the paint node, you can see that the input image is blurred and the paint strokes are redrawn on top of the image. As a practical thought, perhaps you started painting on your image before grading it. Now that the grade is done, you can simply swap out the ungraded background for the graded background and the paint tool will update. That's a pretty good workflow. For the last half of this video, let's look at some of the basic functionality in the paint node. All the painting in ConnectFX is freehand painting. If you want to make any controlled shapes in ConnectFX, I suggest you use the Gmask node with masks. Let's focus on the brush and some of its options. With the brush palette, you can scroll through the options and simply select a brush shape. You can set your brush size in the brush attributes, but a more intuitive way to adjust the brush size is to hold down the Q keyboard shortcut and click and drag the cursor, and you can size the brush to your liking. The color pot indicates the color you are painting with. You can click on the main color pot to call up the color picker and manually set a color. To pick a color from your image, you can hold Ctrl and Shift and click on your image to sample the color. There is also a color palette underneath the main color pot. This comes with a standard set of colors that you could just click to select. But if you want to save your current color, click on the main color pot and change the display option to pot. Now click and hold on any of the color pots to save the current color. This palette can be saved or reset through the Load and Save buttons if desired. You can now start painting on the image. The paintbrush is pressure sensitive, and this will affect you depending if you're using a pen and tablet or 3-button mouse. If you're using a pen and tablet, the pressure is controlled by how hard you press on the tablet. However, if you're using a mouse, squeezing the mouse buttons will not increase the pressure. The left and middle buttons will apply different pressure levels. A better way to control the brush pressure is to go to the brush attributes and change the pressure setting from pressure mode to constant mode. This means that by using a mouse or pen and tablet, you will always have full pressure of the brush, and you can manually adjust the pressure to what you need. Now, when I am painting, I want to have as much painting real estate as possible. So I like to switch to a single view by pressing Option 1. You might need to press F4 to see the paint node result, but now we have more room to paint. One unique feature when painting with the paint node is that you can rotate the canvas to help with the actual aesthetics of painting. One of those old tricks when going back to actual painting and drawing is that we rotated our drawing pads to alleviate wrist pain and fatigue. The good news is that you can rotate the canvas in ConnectFX Paint. This means you can rotate the frame and make it comfortable for you to work with, whether you're using a pen and tablet or a 3-button mouse. You can also hold Option Spacebar to gesturally rotate the frame with the cursor. Option Click will reset the rotation to the correct horizontal position. For working in closer detail, you will find the navigation controls located to the right of the interface. Or you can use Option Command to zoom and Control Command to pan the image. Now, if you want to erase strokes, ConnectFX Paint offers so many options. You can either remove the paint node entirely to delete everything, or if you just want to wipe the current frame clean, you can click the Clear button. Clear All will erase all the strokes in every frame in the sequence. But if you want to use the eraser, simply turn the pen around and use the top bit to start erasing the strokes. This works well for pen and tablet users. If you are using a 3-button mouse, there is no erase function mapped to any of the buttons. An alternative suggestion is to set the paint mode from color to reveal. The reveal offset defaults to reveal the source front that is your original image. You can now erase the old brushstrokes. Just a final side note. The paint node exists in ConnectFX, but you will also find the paint node in the modular keyer to help with keying touch-ups you might want to paint. In an upcoming video, you'll go deeper into the ConnectFX Paint tool using downloadable examples to clean up an image. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Smoke Learning channel for future videos.